Ethiopia stands at a pivotal moment. Our youths are vibrant, our cities are modernizing, our industries are growing, and our economy is among the fastest rising in the world. But our ambitions are higher. Ambitions that demand reliable, clean, and scalable energy. Hydropower, solar, and wind have carried us far. Yet alone, they cannot power the future we are building. For more than a decade, Ethiopia has been a champion of green energy. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, the largest in Africa, stands as a symbol of our determination. Our vision goes beyond today. To transform our nation, we look ahead and embrace with what is possible. Nuclear technology is that possibility. It provides reliable, low-emission power, strengthens food security, equips doctors, optimizes water management, and empowers our scientists to innovate. For Ethiopia, nuclear is not only about energy, it's about people. It will unlock knowledge for our students, provide tools for farmers, and bring healing to patients. It is about expanding a foundation where opportunities multiply.
Imagine a continent long described as developing, suddenly stepping into the most powerful and controversial field of human technology, nuclear energy. Not through Western funding, not through the IMF, not through World Bank loans wrapped in conditions, but through a direct partnership with Russia, a nation America has branded as its geopolitical enemy. This is not fiction. It is happening right now, and the United States cannot stop it. Ethiopia, a nation that defeated European colonizers, survived sanctions, war, famine, drought, internal conflict, and economic isolation, has just signed a nuclear cooperation deal with Moscow's state-owned giant Rosatom. And for Washington, this is not just another African contract. It is a warning that the era of Western dominance over Africa is collapsing in real time. A warning that African nations are no longer content with begging for infrastructure loans and humanitarian aid. A warning that the future of global energy, the future of independence, the future of Africa's development is sliding into an alliance the West cannot easily control. Because once a nation goes nuclear, it becomes untouchable. The West can freeze your bank accounts, sanction your officials, manipulate your currency, block your imports, and strangle your economy. But when you have your own uranium fuel, your own nuclear reactors, your own research labs, and trained scientists, the rules change. They cannot keep you weak. They cannot starve your growth. They cannot dictate who you trade with or how. That is why Ethiopia's nuclear pact has sparked panic in Washington. To them, Africa is supposed to remain a supplier of raw materials: cobalt, gold, lithium, oil, coffee, copper, diamonds, never the owner of power. For 60-plus years, Western strategy has been simple: extract resources, sell back finished goods, use debt to control governments. Keep local industries weak. It worked brilliantly until now. Because Ethiopia has chosen the one partner who doesn't care about Western hierarchies: Russia, a nation sanctioned, isolated, and demonized by the United States. A nation that understands what it means to defy Washington and live outside the Western financial system. A nation that has built nuclear plants across Asia, Middle East, Latin America, and most importantly for this story, Africa. Russia is not offering Ethiopia loans that trap it. It is offering a nuclear future, energy independence, technology transfer, scientific training, a seat at the geopolitical adult table. And this deal does not just change Ethiopia. It changes the entire balance of power on the continent. Because if Ethiopia succeeds, Kenya follows. Egypt expands its reactors. South Africa upgrades its grid. Nigeria joins the race. Zimbabwe enters uranium trade. And suddenly, Africa no longer depends on the West for electricity, industrial growth, or modern technology. Instead of exporting raw minerals, Africa exports finished goods. Instead of importing fuel, Africa creates it. Instead of begging for infrastructure, Africa builds it. This is the nightmare Washington has spent decades trying to prevent. Not war, not revolution, not anti-West protests, but sovereignty. Quiet, technical sovereignty. The kind you achieve by mastering electrons, neutrons, and nuclear isotopes. America knows this story too well, because it used it to dominate the world for 70 years. France used it to dominate Africa for 60. Japan, India, China, South Korea, every economic superpower in modern history didn't rise through democracy speeches or human rights training manuals. They rose through energy, consistent, industrial, cheap, abundant electricity. Nuclear is the foreign policy weapon the West never wants Africa to carry. Because a nuclear Africa does not need charity. A nuclear Africa does not fear sanctions. A nuclear Africa does not kneel. And in that deep historical context, here is the shock. Ethiopia just chose to walk this path with Russia, not America. Not Washington's USAID, not the IMF, not Europe's EDF, but Vladimir Putin. Think about this. This is a country that only a few years ago was treated like a chaotic war zone by Western media. Yet today it signs a treaty with one of the most technologically advanced nuclear nations on Earth. Is that a coincidence? Or is this part of a much bigger movement? BRICS, de-dollarization, multipolarity, challenging the old world order? Ask yourself, why is America building military bases in Africa? Why is France losing influence? Why are Western companies suddenly losing mining rights? Why is China building railways and ports at high speed? Why is Russia investing in nuclear reactors, not foreign aid? The answer is simple. Africa is no longer the playground. Africa is becoming the player. And this single deal, Ethiopia plus Russia, may be the spark that lights the fire of energy independence on the continent. Stay with me, because in the next 20 minutes, you will see the secret terms of the nuclear deal, why the U.S. is terrified, how the West is reacting behind closed doors, what this means for Africa's future economy, and why this could be the beginning of a new world order. Welcome to African Spotlight 24. Let's begin. Energy is the foundation of modern power. Every nation that ever rose to global dominance, America, Russia, Japan, China, India, did so by solving a single question. Where will our energy come from? Not speeches, not slogans, not charity. Electricity, factories, metallurgy, transport, semiconductors, defense systems, hospitals, internet infrastructure. Without energy, there is no development. For decades, Africa has been trapped in a contradiction. Richest continent on Earth in resources, poorest in energy access. Hundreds of millions live without stable electricity. Cities shut down at night. Industries fail to take off. Young talent leaves. Governments depend on foreign loans. That is how you keep a continent weak. But something drastic changed in the last 10 years. Africa realized that the West will never allow it to rise. Not through aid. Not through partnership. Not through democracy programs. And so new alliances formed. China built ports, roads, railways. Russia offered arms, wheat, intelligence. BRICS offered financial independence. And now, Russia is offering nuclear power. In 2023, the Ethiopian government quietly accelerated discussions with Moscow. The officials were not asking for weapons. They were not asking for loans. They asked for knowledge. They asked for reactors, research labs, training pipelines. Russia responded with a proposal that Europe would never offer: cooperation, not control. Rosatom agreed to help Ethiopia build its first nuclear power plant, train Ethiopian scientists, develop medical reactors, create infrastructure for uranium fuel. This is how great powers treat allies, not colonies. America does not fear Ethiopia having a reactor. It fears what nuclear means economically. Independent electricity, industrial growth, domestic jobs, scientific sovereignty, technology transfer, global partnerships. The U.S. strategy in Africa has always been: keep the lights on just enough to extract minerals, but not enough to compete. Nuclear breaks that model. Rosatom is not just a company. It is a geopolitical hammer. Unlike Western firms, Rosatom builds reactor fuel cycle training, regulation, research. It gives Africa a full nuclear ecosystem, not dependence. That is why Egypt partnered with Russia. That is why Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa all opened talks. The West is terrified because once Rosatom enters, they cannot remove it. Washington has conditions. Europe has conditions. IMF has conditions. Russia has collaboration. And Ethiopia knows the price of Western promises. Economic pressure, media propaganda, political interference, sanctions, they are tired. After the Tigray conflict, Ethiopia saw something clearly. When Africa is in crisis, the West does not help. It exploits. Russia, China, Turkey, UAE, they offered deals. Ethiopia chose the future. Ethiopia is now a BRICS member. That means new financial pipelines, new markets, new technology partners, non-dollar trade, sovereign energy projects. America cannot sanction BRICS. They cannot bully 5 continents at once. Nuclear medicine, uranium enrichment, African engineers trained in Moscow, reactors powering factories and data centers. And when the first Black African-built nuclear plant switches on, Africa will never again be the same.